Right, cool. There we go. The stream is
We're
live,
on.
finally. Uh, so, hello everyone. I'm Defur, or Defur, and welcome to Fellows in Arms. I thought I might make a podcast for Arms because, we need some way to gather the community before the launch, and I thought it might be a good idea to sit down and talk about what's going to happen soon and what has happened so far. And I'm super happy because I have two guys with me today, and we're going like super global because it's Russia and America here with me as Swede. So just starting off with SireAlligator or Al, could you give us an introduction of who you are?
Sure, I'm SireAlligator. I'm usually not on that channel. I'm on Golden Split. I organize some of the games done quick and awesome games done quick events in Russia, just translating and other stuff. And I just participate in game publishing company, doing some stuff like publishing games for you people to play, and that's all I can say.
All right, cool. And also, is it Akijo? Akiosjo? How?
Akiosjo. Yeah.
Akiosjo. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm Akiosjo. I'm a graphic designer slash game designer and recently a content creator for ARMS. So I just make like speculation videos right now. Excuse me, but in the future I want to be like I don't know if you've seen like SSBM tutorials, but I just want to kind of do tutorials on like tech in ARMS or like just tutorials for loadouts or strategies or stuff like that. So once the game comes out, I'll be a lot more active on YouTube.
Yeah, cool. And that sounds awesome. I didn't mention that, but yeah, I did some videos too, discussing the controllers a bit, which we will do today as well. I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts about it, actually. But starting off, I thought we might talk just a bit about what has happened so far, like the global test punch and basically the reviews. So let me switch the thing. Oh, cool. It worked. I thought it wouldn't work. So we had a global test punch that was like, I think it was it last weekend or was it 2 weekends ago?
It was last weekend, I think, because it was the last one. I don't remember the exact date,
Mm.
but I think it was 4 and 5. No, not 4 and 5, 3 and 4 maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So like, what was your like initial thoughts about the global test punch? Were you kind of did you think that it was a good idea for them to do it, or was it like a bad idea? Because I've seen a lot of different opinions on it on Reddit and stuff like that.
Hmm. Well, I should start, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. First of all, it's a great idea of Nintendo to give a taste of their product beforehand, because it's a new IP and they don't know what to expect from the crowd, how they will react, how they will participate in their game, how they will like embrace it, and so on. Because in in past they were really hesitant to do new IPs until they got with the Splatoon, and it's just basically was became really popular. So yeah, the arms and the test punch and the global test fire for the Splatoon are great ideas that can engage the future players and gamers who want to play this game after trying it for such a long time.
do, do you agree with that, Akiosho? Or
Yeah.
uh,
You can just call me Akio or if you
Akio?
want.
Okay,
Or,
Akio and
yeah.
Al. That works for me.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
Akio.
yeah, I think the test bunch is a great idea because one, they need to test out their servers like
Uh,
before the game launches, just to make sure that they don't have like the day one crashes that so many games have. But also just because it brings in so many people, like Alligator was saying, like
yeah.
it just so many people who are like on the fence about ARMS, especially ARMS specifically. A lot of people were thinking like, oh, it's gonna be Wii boxing, like it doesn't have depth. Like this is a great chance for them to show people like it does have depth, and you can put a lot of thought into it. And the test bunch went really well for me too, except for like the last day, which I think they were testing out Japanese servers because I kept getting thrown onto Japanese servers and the lag
Oh,
was really bad. But other than that, it was perfect. I
I see.
didn't have any problems with connectivity or anything.
No, but that's a good point because I had a lot of friends that were saying basically the same thing, that they weren't kind of believing in the concept of arms. Like they saw the first teaser and was just like, yeah, this is nothing that I like. But I've seen like both. I had a friend over and we streamed while we were playing with the the sideway Joy-Cons, you know, the small controllers, and he was kind of like he doesn't like these games, but when he tried it here, he thought it was really fun. But did you have anyone close to you that said that, or have you seen a lot of that too? Like basically people making a U-turn of their opinion of the game,
Hmm.
or was it like that
Well,
for you? Or
Well, the greatest thing that I can say about ARMS is that not a lot of people played it here. Because why
yeah,
it's great is because the Switch in here is not very popular. So
yeah,
to like communicate with people who like Switch and who like playing games like ARMS, I have to go abroad and talk with people like you and so on.
mm,
So Switch is I know that everyone is struggling to buy a new Switch, but we have like stockpiles of Switches lying around and no one wants them. So
yeah,
yeah, that's the problem I'm talking about. However, there were a few people who I talked with who has Switch and tried the test punch, and everyone was like really cool about that. They liked it, and they said that they'll probably get it as soon as it will go live because the fighting games for Nintendo are pretty sparse. I mean, there's only Smash Brothers, and
mm.
that's all.
Was there anything? Because I know I've seen a bit on Reddit that people were posting that they had kind of previews. I know that they had previews in Japan, where they had like storefronts. Basically, you know, you could try the game out in a few select places, if I recall correctly. I guess there wasn't anything like that in Russia, or
Yep.
oh, okay, yeah, it was the same for me. Was there anything for you, Akio, or
Not nearby. I live in a really like rural area that's far away from any cities, so
ah, okay.
I don't get the chance to do that.
But do you know anything about it? Because I've just read about it very lightly, but like how it was set up or something.
I'm not sure. I know just at a lot of local game shops and stuff, they would just get copies, and so yeah, I guess that was like the main way people would be able to play it before release was just going to like their game stores and stuff like that.
Ah, okay. So I was kind of wondering because we did a. It seems like all of us, like all three of us, has worked a bit with like designs and stuff like that. But like, what kind of got you into ARMS? Like, what games did you play before this? Because for me personally, this is my first Nintendo console since like a Game Boy Advanced, I think. So I was like, but then I got the hype when I was in Japan and I saw ARMS. So I was like, I need to buy this console just for this game, basically. But other than that, I'm like into shooters and stuff. So this is kind of the, you know, it's pretty new for me, basically.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Well, the thing with ARMS is that it's pretty unique in terms of design and in terms of gameplay features. First of all, the problems that I had with ARMS is I thought it was like really repetitive when I first looked at that. But now I understood that it's pretty much like any other fighting game that relies a lot on tech and other stuff that people use in normal fighting games. But there is more like precise things like in boxing games. For example, Fight Night games. It reminds
Yeah.
me a lot about them. So it's just like you gotta dodge until the right moment, then just full on attack. Because if you attack blindly all the time, you are wide open and you can't do anything to the people.
Yeah.
And I like fightings a lot. I mean, Tekken is my favorite series,
Yeah,
and
same.
I have played a lot of fighting games in my day. I'm not that great, though. I'm really bad. But still, I like them. And ARMS was like a new thing. I was always curious what Nintendo will come up with. I always adore what Nintendo does, and I talked a lot with people from Nintendo, like in Russia, in America, and I always had a great time when they were discussing different gameplay problems, how they tackle them, and how they want Nintendo titles to like show themselves to people. For example, so ARMS is unique, and that's what got me there. And I was like, "Yep, I'm going to play this a lot."
Yeah, no, I agree with that because it's like the fighting game that I've been playing the most is Tekken. Like I've been playing it since Tekken 3, I think, because I don't think I knew about it Tekken 1 and 2. But in my opinion, that's like I feel like there's a lot of similarities to ARMS. I don't know how to explain that. Because it's like in Tekken you have these where you can like sidestep and things like that, and doing the different blocks and grabs and stuff like that. And I don't know, I feel like it has a lot of similarities, but Tekken is basically too high of a skill ceiling for me. So when I've tried playing it, like I can't do combos for shit, but in ARMS you don't have to do that. You can just, like I'm still struggling with that, like if you grab someone and throw them on the, like, you can bounce them off that, I think it's like the Springman map, and then you can like, apparently you can hit them in the air, and I've tried that, but I have never succeeded in like timing that correctly. But yeah, and so Akio, what games do you play usually otherwise?
I was pretty new in that fighting game. I'm pretty new in the fighting game community. I started with Smash Bros. Melee like less than a year ago, maybe like 6 months ago. And just a couple friends of mine got me into it. And actually, that's why I first saw ARMS was on an ad that was on a Smash tournament.
Oh.
And all the people in the chat were like going crazy about it. And from then I just kind of kept up with it. And like the more I learned about it, the more I realized like I didn't really understand like the issues that people had with it, because to me like it seemed obvious that it was just kind of like the basic fundamentals of a fighting game, you know, like.
Yeah.
And that idea just really appealed to me, and I thought, you know, like this obviously is going to have like a lot of depth and stuff. So I just kind of started keeping up with it, and then the more I just saw that people were like skeptical of it, the more I wanted to share with them, like, no, like this is going to work, you know. So that's kind of what brought me into like the ARMS community, is just my desire to kind of share with people my excitement for ARMS.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that, but because I tried to share, like I tried to stream all of the global test punches there, but it was difficult in my time zone. I don't know if it was probably the same for you, Al, but
Yeah.
what was the times for you with the test punches, by the way?
My first test punch was in 3 a.m.
Yeah,
But like,
oh.
yeah, the very first test punch, I was really sleepy, but I still had a blast playing it.
Yeah, I think, yeah, for me it was 2 a.m. there, and I like, I think on the second weekend I went out to party, and then like I went to a club, and then I was like, no guys, I need to go home and play games, I can't stay here. And they're like, oh, cool man. And then went home, and then I was like really drunk, and I had set up the stream and everything before I came home. I played okay, but much worse than usual. But I was kind of curious, Akio, what you said with the kind of pessimism against the game. Was that from like Smash players, or was it just like people in general, like when they were, you know, not believing in the concept, I guess?
Yeah, I thought that Smash players would be more accepting of it, because Smash has had such a hard time coming into the fighting game community.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like people are skeptical of ARMS, so like Smash people are gonna, you know, try to help it, like, you know, like they would have had. But no, like a surprising amount of Smash players like are really, I don't know if they don't want ARMS to succeed, but they just don't see in it like potential. And I have two friends specifically, the ones that got me into Smash, and they would just argue with me, you know, like, no, ARMS like doesn't, it's not gonna work. And I would, like, the more I would explain it to them, the more they would kind of open up to the idea, you know, like,
Yeah.
I would say, oh, you know, any fighter can have any arm, and, you know, I would explain the different abilities, you know, and just the different potential. And now, like, at least one of my friends is kind of opening up to the idea of it, so that's good.
Yeah, it's kind of similar here in Stockholm. There's like a group of Smash players, basically, like a local team, I guess. And one of my friends is really kind of tightly knit into that community. And I, like, every time I met him the last, like, I guess 1 or 2 months, there's always been like at least one part in our conversation where I'm like trying to convince him that ARMS is like, you know, it could be a cool thing. Maybe you can like combine Smash and ARMS in like tournaments and stuff. And he's like, no, it's just for casuals. And I'm like, god damn it, I'm. And then he sees like gameplay of the volleyball game mode, or like the dunking thing, and I'm like, no, not that part. Don't look at that. Okay, cool. So
Actually, that was my big question. Why people didn't like volleyball and basketball that much? I mean, volleyball was great. I feel like it was such a great mode. I have never seen something that great since Tekken 3 and beach ball.
Yeah, exactly.
that I don't know. A lot of people was like, yeah, that game mode is hard or that game mode is easy. Yeah, of course, because if you know what you're doing and not like just flailing your arms around, you can just like team up with the second player if you're doing 2-on-2 and someone's charging, another one's jumping and striking down. I don't remember how it's properly called.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's a lot of tech to that as well, and you can just do different stuff. Like the greatest mistake I have seen people doing is like going into the corner and not being able to hit the ball because they're too far. I always came back to the middle of the court because, well, it dies. That's what you do.
Yeah.
And you just have to attack the ball properly and not like every time, but you charge, you attack, you use 1 or 2 arms depending on the situation. And a lot of people, yeah, that game mode is hard and dumb. And it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah, I like it really reminded me actually of the Tekken 3 like beach volleyball game mode there, and that was like one of the most fun parts about Tekken 3. Like when I had my friends over and we would just like, because you wouldn't get mad at each other. Like when you play 1 versus 1, it's always so goddamn serious. But it's like it's just a volleyball. You can just like relax about it. But I think for like my view of it is that people are like so kind of they don't have a lot of how do you say it? Like they're too eager to like punch and stuff.
Yep.
Now I'm losing that word, but basically they
don't have patience.
Exactly, they don't have patience. Like it's good that we have at least one native speaker here, but yeah, I felt like they don't have enough patience because sometimes when I was teamed in like a 2v2, it was always like I would always kind of try to see what the other person is doing, and they were always just like go like not grabbing it, but going like this, like all the time, and not just like waiting or like timing it, but I thought it was fun. I don't know. Did you see the kind of cheese tactic that I uploaded? I don't know if you've seen it, but
Charge, jump, punch.
yeah. I know
Yeah,
it's
it can be.
I know it's really like you can counter it easy, but
Yep.
I mean it proves that there's like tactics in it basically. But I felt like there was some arms that were like just shit with it. I tried in I think mostly in the first or second test punch there. I played Helix, for example, or DNA Man, and I couldn't even hit the ball. Like I tried with the the Blorb or the Blob, and one time I tried double Guardian, the slow ones that spin in volleyball, and that was like I could never hit the ball. But I feel like Helix, if he had the arms that you will have in the full game, because he can stand upwards and punch the ball down, you can have this. I don't know. I think he could be good in that game mode, but I don't know. I thought it was fun. What did you think, Akio?
I played Ribbon Girl most of the time, and you'd think Ribbon Girl would be really good at V-Ball because she can jump. She can just stay over the net and just keep hitting it down. Yeah. But her default arms actually are not that good for volleyball. Like the Slap-O-Manter is really hard to hit a V-Ball with, and so it would really frustrate me.
Actually,
I would just not do good.
What was
Maybe,
like bad with it?
I think I just suck at V-Ball, but I had trouble with it.
Because I only played Ribbon Girl I think like 3 matches actually, because I got way too used to the others. Did you guys have like a main in mind before like the test punch began, or
no?
Okay.
I knew I was gonna play Ribbon Girl.
Is it the waifu or? No?
Yep. No, I just liked her jumps.
Yeah, that's true. Like the mobility, I guess.
Yeah, that mobility on the map of the Springman is dumb. I mean, you can just jump all around the stage with back springers and just abusing her jump and just switching around, and nobody can hit you unless it's Min because she can just huddle around all the stage using her swipe attack with the knee.
Yeah, and the dash thing, right?
Yeah. So if I would be talking about the main guy, I was always looking at the Master Mame, but it proved to be a really hard character because he's big, he's slow, and a lot of characters with movement tech, for example, like Ninjara, can outplay him until I got a until I got an idea how to play him with 2 birds. The birds are like
Yeah.
great choice against people who move a lot. You just put a bird and it just flies away and you forget about that, and it's definitely hits someone on the way. And the bird was really strong.
Yeah.
I was abusing it a lot when 1 versus 1. I even just won some 1 versus 2 because the birds are really powerful when you're talking about the mobility and predictability of the arms going at you. But my second choice would be Ribbon Girl in her black outfit and Slapamandras. And she's amazing. I mean, Slapamandras are great, especially with motion controls. You can just curve them all the way around the player and just hit him in the other ear.
Yeah, I think especially for like Master Mummy and stuff, because I've played Tekken like way too much. I feel like, but when I played Arms, I felt like Mummy was kind of like playing Jack 5, I guess, the big robot in Tekken, basically, where you have to be like his punches are super strong, but if you punch at the wrong timing, you're basically dead, or not dead, but like it fucks you up basically. So I liked him, especially his grabs, because I think it's the grab that makes the most damage. I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for me it was, for some reason, my main. I didn't think it would be. I saw the trailers and was like, Min Min and Twintel was like, yeah, that's my waifus. So I was like, I think I'm gonna play those. And then I tried Min Min, and I didn't understand her at all, like her kind of dash movement thing. I just couldn't get it to work. And it's the same thing with Twintel on the second weekend there. I just could never hit anyone because I didn't understand it. So my choices were like Helix, and then it kind of went into Springman, and I just played Springman all the time. And I think it's because he's like the most boring character, so I can like learn how the others are moving from his view, basically. Because he's, I guess, how would you say it? Like, he's not.
He's a default character.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I actually kind of wanted to ask about him, because I haven't been able to talk too much with people about Arms, but so like when you guard with him, like Springman, and you get like an aura that you can like parry with. Do you guys understand how that works, or because I never got it to work, basically?
You have to let go of charge. So whenever you're charging, whether it's you're holding a dash or you're coming, or you're holding guard.
Yeah.
After you let go of that, his parry will go. It's weird.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, the parry thing is really hard. Like in the first test punch, I was just jumping around and not a lot of guarding was going on. In the second test punch, I understood how to guard properly, but I was still really bad with side steps and charges. But in the last test punch, I was playing Twintel, and her like charge mechanic and her main mechanic that slows arms around her. It's really great. When you just charge to the side, you stop time, stuff is coming to you at slow pace, and you can just destroy people after that.
Yeah.
It's so amazing. I really like that mechanic a lot, and I was using it much more later. But I was playing only with motion controls. I have never played with actual gamepad. So maybe that's why I was doing that.
Yeah, I see. Actually, I was like, one of the topics later is just the controls there, but and I want to get into that. But I just another question. I know I'm gonna sound stupid here, but a parry, for me, like I don't know the meaning of that English word, but in my mind, a parry is like you take the hit, like you remove the hit, and then you hit the other character, or is it just that you're blocking, or like?
Yeah,
So the
that
parry
is
yeah.
what it means.
Yeah,
Okay.
the parry is hard. It just I know not a lot of people were able to do that. For example, to parry you have to guard and just dodge and then attack in the exact same frame that the arms is hitting your guard, and it's almost impossible. It's like that Min Min's parry with her foot. So when she's jumping and dodging, she's using her foot to sway the arms away.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a really small window to hit that perfect dodge thing, and I was never able to do that, and I have never seen Min Min do that. It's really hard.
I see. Okay, but so after this test punch, do you feel like, because you Al, you didn't have a main going into it, and Akio, you had the Ribbon Girl. Like, have you kind of decided, or are you like you want to test out Kid Cobra and Bite and Bark, or like how do you guys feel about that now? Like, what's your main?
Akio, you're first.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Ribbon Girl as my main, but also I'm going to. Arms is really surprisingly balanced. Like, this is kind of going off topic a little bit, but I thought that like the heavies were not gonna be as much of a problem as they were, but really like this game, like each character counties each other like so well. It really surprised me. I was just used to Melee, where it's like the most unbalanced game ever, but so. I definitely think it's going to be easier for people to main like 2 or even 3 characters sometimes. So I think I'm going to dedicate myself to Ribbon Girl like, in the beginning, but once I have the chance to play like Kid Cobra, I think I'm going to try him out. And if he's not to my liking, then I may use Ninjara or Springman as a secondary. But I'm going to wait and see, because Kid Cobra has some pretty good mobility from what I've seen too.
Yeah, my main issue with characters is their mobility, because Arms is pretty slow because it's always like shuffling around. You're not moving a lot until you're dodging or something else. So yeah, I was looking at Kid Cobra as well, and also because I really like the Slapamandra's, I think it's crazy what you can do with them. But until I see how other arms react on other characters, for example, I want to see how I don't know, Blorbs, for example, act for Twintail or someone else.
Yeah.
Because, for example, if you're flying with Twintail and just stop times and pushing in Blorb and it just bounces around while you're up in the air, I think it's gonna be hard to counter that. But the problem is, yeah, so until the game comes out, you don't know anything about how different arms interact with characters, and 2 new characters, the Bite and Bark and the Kid Cobra. So yeah. There's still a lot of things to see, so that's why I still don't know what to main.
I think it's kind of interesting too with because everyone seems to be like shitting on Bite and Bark, and no one has actually played him. Almost, I think there's been like review stuff, but I kind of want to try him out, but I don't think as well he will be my main. Like for me, it's I kind of do this in all games where I take the most like default character that you could. Like, for example, if you play Mummy, you make the play like your opponent kind of adapt to your playstyle because you're so like big and take up so much space, so they have to like adapt to you basically. But the thing that I like with Springman is that you're so kind of like uninteresting that everyone is doing their kind of playstyles and I have to like adapt to them. So I'm thinking like that. I'll probably be Springman for a long time and just kind of see how players are using characters, and then kind of like, okay, now I can learn how they do that. For example, like when I was playing the test punch, I faced a really good Min, and I got so kind of caught off guard, and I was happy that I was streaming that because it was so insane. Basically, that player had found out a really good way to tech with dashing, like sideway dashing, basically. So I couldn't almost hit her. Like, I was so surprised. Like, every test punch that I played, I always found out something new about the game. And when I saw Min like doing that fast dashing like around me, and I didn't know what to do. I just stood there basically kind of shocked. So I think like for me it's gonna be Springman and then maybe Kid Cobra because he's kind of growing on me. I think he looked really ugly, but then I was like, but maybe he's kind of cool actually. I don't know if he's a human or not.
I feel like he's a joke character.
Yeah, but I mean but really though, like is he human or like what is he like? Is he a snake? I don't know. But okay, cool. So kind of wanted to move on to the like others reviews of the game because there was a review thread. I don't know if have you seen the review thread that was on Reddit a couple of days ago.
I think I skimmed through it.
Yeah.
That's all.
I haven't seen it on Reddit, but I've seen a lot of YouTube reviews. So
yeah, and like the basic kind of thing that I saw in the thread there was that almost all of them gave them kind of 80% like score. Would you say that that's like fair, or like, because I think it was like almost all of them were like 4 out of 5, 80%, 8 out of 10. Like there was not kind of perfect, and there was no one that gave it like 5 or 6 or anything like that. Was that kind of expected for you?
Well, actually, yes, because it's a new IP and Nintendo's trying new stuff. And considering that people are like not fond of Nintendo doing new stuff because they always feel like they're going to fuck up something like with Wii U, and
Yeah.
so the 8 was really expected to be there, and it's a really great score for such game as ARMS. It could be much, much worse, and it's still growing on people. And we'll see how it goes when it goes live, because right now not a lot of things could be tested unless it's a review copy. And also, I feel like the game will shine fully when there will be DLC coming up, for example, new
Yeah.
characters, new arms, and so on. Because right now I already see some arms that won't have a lot of action going. For example, like that torpedo arm is so dumb. I don't know why it was even created. It's so slow. Yes, it has AoE attackers charged, but
You
you
mean
can
the
just dodge that.
Mechanica one? Like the Mechanica?
Yeah, the mechanical one and the bite and buck one is the default thing for them, but it's so bad. It's like just going slowly and you can just go around
Oh
while
yeah,
still
I haven't
going.
even tried
And
it.
then it
So
hurts you.
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even try it, so yeah. Akio, what do you think?
One thing I always kept in mind was like uh, most of the people reviewing were not from like the fighting game community. Like I watched a lot of YouTube videos of reviews, and a lot of the things people were saying were valid. You know, like well, there's not like a whole lot of content like story wise and stuff like that. But one thing I didn't see was people talking about like how much depth it had or how much potential it had for being like a popular fighting game, and that's all right, I guess, because not everyone's into that. But that was just one thing I kept in mind. Like when people are reviewing the game, they might not get like the point of ARMS.
Yeah.
But yeah, 8 of 10 was I think expected. Because like 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, I think there has to be like a lot of hype behind the game to begin with, and probably like even history behind the game to begin with. Like it has to be kind of like a sequel or a remake in order to get like that good of a score. And like Alligator was saying, like people are just kind of scared of Nintendo recently. Like they've just been messing up on a lot of things recently, and so I think that was probably the best it was going to get for ARMS. But I think it's a very good score. So
I was kind of wondering when you said getting the point of the game, basically. Like, do you mean that meaning the kind of depth and kind of like competitive side of the game, or?
yeah, like I think what they want ARMS to be first and foremost is like a competitive game. They want it to be like they want you to play with other people and compete for higher rankings and stuff. And I think some people might think like, oh, it's supposed to be just like a fun thing to play like in your free time or whatever. And yeah, sure, I mean it's a Nintendo game, and they always are trying to find a balance between like just casual fun, and a specific audience. But yeah, as far as like the point of being like Nintendo's entry into more like hardcore gaming, I don't know if some people realized that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just something to keep in mind.
Did you have a comment on that, Al, or?
Oh, well, I have a comment on another thing, like how it's going to fare, but you should go first.
Oh yeah,
about
I
something.
was just kind of thinking like earlier today about the kind of like Nintendo going into competitive aspect, basically, because like for example I saw Splatoon and it had like they were going to have a tournament on E3, I think, and
ARMS as well.
yeah, and ARMS as well, yeah, and there was a stream like some weekend ago with a tournament in Splatoon, and I didn't even know that there were teams in Splatoon because Nintendo hasn't been really good with kind of supporting the competitive scene.
Well, that's the problem. Actually, there are no teams. They were like made up like in several minutes, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, the problem with Nintendo is that they will always vary of the esports scene, and they really want to go there because like there are a lot of money going on there and a lot of retention for the games. And I mean, look at just Dota 2, League of Legends, other stuff that's going on. Nintendo just want to go in and have something else to represent them, but not only with the family fun, but like you can play that competitively. They always ignored the melee community when they were asking for that. I feel like they were not feeling that Smash Bros will be able to go on the international level because it's popular only like locally in some places. For example, in America, I know in Japan, and Europe is like really small community for the Smash Bros. I think, and it got rise only recently, and Nintendo cannot like get all the revenue to justify the competitive scene for the Smash Bros. So they're like doing a bet on the new IPs. For example, Splatoon is really, really loved. So they're like, yeah, we're definitely doing a Splatoon 2 esport. And ARMS will be a test. And I feel like this is the thing I wanted to talk about. The Year 3 ARMS contest will be either a really great fail for Nintendo or something that will help the game to propel in the hearts of the people. Because if we will see someone in the finals doing like the dodge grab mechanic all the time, smashing someone in the like wall in the somewhere, everyone will be like, yeah, that's a fun game to play, definitely. Yeah, we really want that now. So if we will see like great fights, then great recap of the events, and we will see all the videos how people like doing different tech stuff, using the motion control and like physically straining themselves to do something awesome. That will definitely go like a long way for Nintendo. But I will see just a person with a gamepad like in any other fighting game, but with no tech and just sidestepping, grabbing, and other stuff. That's gonna be bad.
Yeah, I kind of like it was a great point. I think like it's as you said, it could fail and it could propel basically. I think
Yeah.
The one thing that I've been thinking about just with the competitive side of it is that I don't think like if you think of it at a broader perspective that I don't think Nintendo has been like ready for esports. I'm not sure, but like when esports like finally kind of boomed, I think Nintendo was still like it was kind of like in the beginning of Wii U for them.
Yes, they were figuring out how the internet works.
Yeah,
I remember.
no, but like no comments on the online service. But
Yeah.
I think Nintendo basically they have a, and this is kind of my kind of commentary on like Japanese because I lived there and worked there. But like they have a plan. So when new things like outside the world in the world like is changing, they're like, okay, we need to stick to our plan either way.
Yeah.
And then it takes like super long for them to kind of accept that like something new is coming. And I think that like especially in the Wii U, they weren't ready. So like when people are like, oh, but why isn't Smash 4 like super competitive and why aren't you supporting them? I think internally Nintendo was just like, not yet. No,
Yes.
and then like kind of
They're
like
always trying.
yeah, no, but just like because if you compare like their Nintendo's like trying versus like Blizzard's trying or Valve's trying, it's like you can do a lot more, but I feel like now they're kind of like they're giving it more space because they I think it was just some day ago they announced like a competitive Twitter like Nintendo VS I think.
Yeah.
And that's like, even though that's like really small compared to Valve and Blizzard, it's like, yeah, you made a Twitter account, like,
Yeah.
nice.
It's a step forward at least.
Yeah, it's a step forward, but I think basically what I'm trying to say is that it's hard, like it's hard to kind of predict, basically.
Yeah.
And yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I mean, it's just Nintendo doing their stuff. They're always trying to reinvent the wheel or the bicycle. If it's already somewhere there, they will just roll around like, here, our bicycle, but they were around 10 years ago. Now, here's ours.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
just something like that.
I think for many, like Nintendo to me lately, and now being a user of Nintendo Switch, I feel like it's kind of the gaming world's Apple, where they're like, oh, people are doing this, but look at our thing. our thing is cool. Like, oh, okay, sure, and then trying to like sell it in. And sorry, Aki, you have
Our thing is white and shiny.
yeah, exactly. But now it's like now it's portable,
Look
and
at the
then
designs.
Yeah.
and Sony is like, but our never mind.
Yeah.
But did you have any other comments? Otherwise, I was gonna move to the next topic there, Akio.
Well, one
No.
thing I would like to say about Nintendo is even if you just go like the history of games, like and you know like the big crash of games in the 80s, like and Nintendo saved it, you know, like
Yeah.
because what they've done is the entire time Nintendo's been around, they've always focused on like what makes a game like as fun as possible and whether or not
Yeah.
that's good or bad, you know, because some people, you know, they would like to sacrifice a bit of fun for, you know, other elements in a game, but
Yeah.
Nintendo, their strategy has always just been, you know, find the fun and just go for that as hard as you can, you know, 100%. And I think that's why they've had several games that have had competitive like player bases behind them, you know, like Splatoon. I was surprised to find out that Splatoon actually has a history of competitive gaming. Like people have done that on their own, and then also like Smash, obviously, you know, Smash 4, Melee,
Yeah.
and just Pokken, you know, and all of these like grassroots things. But Nintendo has just like not given them attention. I think just because they're afraid, they don't want to make, you know, part of their fan base feel left out, you know, and that's just always been their business strategy. But the Nintendo we've seen in 2017 is really different than like the Nintendo from the past. So I think they are generally opening up to the idea of, okay, like maybe we can sacrifice a bit of our audience for a
Yeah.
more dedicated fan base. So that's a good thing.
The problem with Nintendo was that they were like focusing a lot on Japanese consumers, and they were giving them out a lot of money. And like the mobile games, a lot of tournaments, for example, the Monster Hunter tournaments, they were always present in Japan and never anyone anywhere else. Like I can imagine a lot of people would like to participate in the Monster Hunter tournament, but no, they won't be able because it's like really Japanese only, and a lot of invitational things are Japanese only. Pokken, and like yokai tournaments. I have seen that as well, but it's only Japan. They have never been open to the public because they have enough revenue from the Japan, and they can just like rotate there and create what they want, not what people want. Because when they create what they want, and like we're going to implement fun, like Akio said, and yeah, that's like motto to implement fun before anything else and the gameplay. Like they're not going for the graphics or something else. They're like, yeah, we're doing this thing. We're doing the gameplay first, then the graphics and story and other stuff later. It's gameplay first so every time.
Yeah, I think like it's a theme basically of not only Nintendo but Japan in general, like how they're like a lot of things in the Switch or just like the online service basically, like one example, how it's a lot of them feel kind of out of touch with the rest of the world. But I think Nintendo is one of the few companies that have like they're trying a bit to do something like they're
Yes.
trying to open up, but it's taking so long. It's basically in my opinion it's a really good reflection of like Japan in general, like how they're slowly opening up, but it's like taking really a long time. But okay, let's
Always 20 years behind in
yeah,
Japan.
in some regards, not the toilets though, but I can confirm. So yeah, one question I was kind of curious about, going back to ARMS and like the small stuff now, but is like because we were talking a bit about the volleyball game mode there, but I was just wondering like which kind of if there is a competitive scene, what kind of modes do you think will be able to be competitive? Because if you look at, for example, this is kind of like, yeah, kind of StarCraft. They have, like, in Brood War, for example, they had a history of having 2v2s, and in StarCraft 2 they tried to push, like, a 2v2 thing, but it didn't really work. In Team Fortress 2 they've tried 6v6 and 9v9, which is kind of crazy and didn't work at all, but like, do you think it will only be 1v1, or do you think the others will like have a chance of having like, you know, for fun
Well,
tournaments or?
If you are talking about like the really big competitive scene, that's definitely gonna be only one versus one. There's not gonna be a lot of space to go around for two versus two or like even different fun game modes. Even though they're fun, they can be on the showcase scenes. They can be like before the actual event, like showing out, hey, here you go, we have a lot of modes for you to have fun. But here we go for the main event, for the competitive scene, like one versus one, the big match, like the boxing match, and of course it's going to be one versus one. Because, for example, I cannot see how the target practicing, oh, not the target practice, the target hitting
Yeah, but
mini game, yeah, we can go and be competitive because it's so bad.
uh,
I can't.
Competitive skill shot.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, yeah,
so
no,
bad,
of course not that one.
impossible.
No, but because I like, I'm kind of thinking that while I don't think it will be like customary, but like imagine if you have this kind of a tournament where it's like round of robin, and then you have like three players that are stuck on the same score. What if they have three like free for all? Would that be like a bad thing, or because you don't have to have like a 1v1, you could, but now there is actually like a choice for that in the game, for example. Um, would that be a bad thing, or?
Well,
If it was put in the middle of a 1v1 bracket, yeah.
Okay. I'm just
I
trying to think out loud.
No, I think I don't feel like it will go somewhere else besides the elimination thing. Like
Yeah.
if even if there will be something like a dropout or something, it will be like you move forward, you just participate in the finals or something else, or you play the supplementary matches, not no one versus one. There's a lot of disbalance in that mode, and even though you can manipulate people playing around, like a lot of people I know didn't like the one versus one. I really liked it because I always manipulated someone to be between me and another guy, and I
Yeah.
was never focusing the guy in between. I was focusing the guy like in the farthest corner,
Yeah.
and I was always hitting the guy in the front. And it was like my plan, and all along, I was always moving to be like with the wall behind myself, and so on, so on. And well, yeah, you can do that, but you can imagine three people going to wall and like, no, I'm not going there. I'm not losing this much to two people at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
I
not
think
great.
I think I was actually also one of those that actually liked the free for all or 1v1. But it's because I had some really like weird moments that like I made a highlight reel where I had like I was in between two players, and then the one behind me did the rush, and I managed to like dodge out of the rush without seeing her. And then when I turned around to the other player did a rush against me, and I was like jumping between them, and I think I got one grab at the end, like against me, but like just that feeling of being like kind of fighting off versus two opponents basically, because when you're in a 2v2 they're tethered together, so they're always like moving like where you can see them, but when it's a 1v1 you can like someone is where you can't see them basically, and I thought it was interesting, but of course not competitive, I
Yeah.
guess. Um, but
If there would be a fast turn button, it would be so much easier, but there is no fast turn button there.
yeah, that's actually one of my gripes with a lot of the controllers, and that I'll mention soon. But let's go into the next topic actually of the upcoming events, because that's one thing that will kind of, I guess, decide of how ARMS will look like moving forward. So next weekend there is E3, and there's gonna be like tons of announcements and also tournaments for Splatoon and ARMS then. And I was only like when I heard about the invitational, I thought, well, okay, that's just gonna be it for ARMS. But during like I was looking through the forums and I saw that people were saying, oh well, um, what announcement will they have? And I didn't even like consider or like play around with the idea that they would announce something in ARMS at E3. Like, what do you guys think will happen with just Nintendo and ARMS in general at E3?
I'm guessing they're probably just gonna reveal like the rest of, if they do reveal anything for ARMS, they'll probably just reveal, the rest of the Grand Prix and like any like hidden character we might not know about or anything like that. But I think we pretty much know everything about ARMS. But one thing to keep in mind is ARMS releases like the next day after E3, so they might not say anything about it at all just because it's coming out the next day and people are just gonna find out anyway, you know. But the oh, go ahead. I'm pretty much done.
No, I was thinking because there was this character that they haven't talked anything about called, I think it's Max Brass, or and there was like one review site that accidentally posted a picture of him where you could see his name. Like, would they announce that, or do you think it would just like just let people find out?
No, it's Nintendo. They won't do that. You know, they have like Akio said before, and you said before, they have a plan. And when they will announce something, it probably will be something related for something they already planned, like Amiibo or other stuff that's coming for ARMS. For example, they see that like a lot of people liked ARMS, so it will be even more successful in E3. They will be like, here we go, the Amiibo for ARMS that you didn't want, but you get what. And after that, they will probably, and maybe they can tease a DLC for the ARMS, but knowing Nintendo and that they announce stuff for like 3 months ahead, like 6 months ahead at max, they won't announce anything. For example, we still don't know what the DLC will be about for Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild as a winter. So yeah, I'm not like getting my hopes up about anything about that. It's more like a selling last thing, like pitch for them. Like, here you go, we have ARMS. People played it. Here's the most playable character. Here's some like videos, and that's all. That's ARMS. Go get it. It will be available in several days.
I think actually that's a good point, because I was thinking about the DLC and the scheduling for that, and I was kind of like, because I got so surprised of Overwatch, like just kind of thinking about DLCs and unlockables and stuff like that. Because I kind of grew up in my teenage years with Team Fortress 2, where they would say, hey, we're coming up with a new update. It's coming soon. And then it's like Valve time, so it's coming in like 1 year later. And then Overwatch is like, it gets released, and then it has an event like immediately. And then characters are just like getting released and teased, and they're releasing like blog posts about the lore and everything. But thinking about it is Nintendo, as you said with the Zelda thing, I think it's like gonna take a long while before they're actually like stating what it would be.
Now that you talked about that, that could happen. One thing probably in Nintendo showcase is that people have been speculating of the new Mario Smash the Smash Brothers coming for the Switch. And with that they can just announce the guest character from the ARMS. And I feel like it will be the most played character. Maybe it will be a Ribbon Girl or as a Min, and they will be like, this is a guest character because a lot of people has played it, and maybe that can happen. That's the only thing I can.
I think. Sorry, Akio, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Now that we're talking about it, I think there might actually be a good chance that they would announce like a tournament. Since we're having like the ARMS and the Splatoon and everything going on, and then we see on the Nintendo Versus Twitter page there's also like a blank space for a 4th game. So they'll probably announce that 4th game, whether it be Smash or whatever it is, and then I think they may say like, hey, coming like this fall we're gonna have like an ARMS tournament or whatever, hosted by Nintendo or anything, and that could be kind of like their announcement that they're getting into esports. But that is just kind of something that I thought of just now.
I just hope it's not gonna be Mario Kart 8 tournament.
No, that would be so bad. I'm kind of like first I'm thinking of the like what would be the guest character in Smash. It would be like in my head it would be either Springman because it's like the main protagonist. Ribbon Girl because it's kind of the main female character, I guess, or it would be Twintel because it's like, the West. They're like, we need to like talk to the Western audience. Let's put this that it has most fan art. Just put Twintel in there, and they'll be like, But I don't know.
I think they could do like Ribbon Girl because she is like one of the females, and she's also like kind of like next to Springman, like the poster child for ARMS. But then they also might do like Master Mummy, or they could do Springman and Mechanica, so that they could have like a heavy character as well.
Actually,
go ahead.
Actually, I felt like the Ribbon Girl will be the great choice because the other characters are revolving around the mechanics, and the mechanic of the Springman is when you're low on HP, you get the charge,
Yeah,
and it cannot be realized in the Smash Bros. As
yeah,
well as other things. For example, you can like uh, lower your percent of the character that is being hit for the Master Mummy, but like the most reasonable and sensible mechanic is like the jumping of the ribbon girl, like jumping around the stage in the Smash Brothers. That would be like the most
Yeah.
understandable thing for the Smash Bros. Other characters have great abilities, but they are not well versed in the Smash Brothers.
I think
Yeah, she makes sense.
I think one thing that could happen as well. I really like the theory of that. I read it. Someone made a comment. It was basically like that you will have like alternate skins will be different characters. So there will be like Springman is the one character, and then Ribbon Girl is the other like alternative, and then they'll do like a how do you say it? Like they'll do like more of a generic. They don't include the specific skills for the characters. It's just like this is an arms character, so it doesn't have like the charging or the double or triple jumping of Ribbon Girl. But I don't know. I really like that idea for just for the sake of having more arms in Smash, I guess.
I feel like they can implement the thing with the skins, like every character picked. Maybe it's the same character, but it will be different arms for him.
Yeah.
Like, for example, it will be the default arms for the first skin, and like a different arms for the second, the third, and the fourth one, like the bird one, and so on, so on, so on. Maybe it will be just one character in Springman, and they will just make him different with arms. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah.
I'm just like really. It's the first time I'm like really excited for an E3 actually, because otherwise I haven't had the current gen consoles. I've been just seeing like, oh, here's some games I can't play, cool. Or in Sony's case, it's like, oh, here's some games that will be released in 5 years, awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just excited because I just want more Switch games.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
same, because
yeah.
right now my Legend
Neo
of Zelda
Geo?
Breath of the Wild. Yeah, my Legend of Zelda and this guy 5 is like just lying around. I have already completed them, and I'm like, yeah, this guy 5 was like 100 something hours, Legend of Zelda as well, and I was like, yeah, I need more games. I definitely need more games.
I've
Like
been
most,
looking at the store and just like scrolling through, and then it's like when I'm bored, I just scroll through the store, and I'm getting like sad of how many like. It's like
Yeah.
it's 20 Neo Geo games or something, where it's like,
Yeah.
oh god damn it, what is this? Like,
yes, the worst thing that actually happened is that their indie releases are not like dominant in the store. For example, like I was really keen on getting the Wonder Boy title. I was like, yeah, I am gonna play that. And like in several days, it goes live in the Steam for like really low price. I mean, in Russia, we have really low prices on games in Steam, and I like comparing those two, and it's like more than half of that. And like, yeah, no, I'm not getting it on Switch.
no, I see what you mean. I just looking at the chat here and with the hate nelinkable. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but he was just saying that kind of the skins, the skins with the Ribbon Girl and Springman could be a good thing for Smash. But yeah, I guess we'll just have to see with that thing basically, because it's, as you said, Aki, earlier, it's just like we're gonna predict some shit and everything is gonna be wrong.
And then we're just gonna find out
Yeah.
in like 4 days. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
gonna
why I
keep
have
the
my
hype.
E3.
Yeah.
That's why I have my E3 bingo and a lot of bottles coming up if
Yeah.
everything gets right.
I
That
just
sounds
want
awesome.
Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Animal
no.
Crossing for the Switch is such a good idea. Like, I
Yeah,
just
Animal
want it so-
Crossing. Well, yeah, I really want that as well, but having a go at the gaming industry and being a publisher, I can understand that Nintendo don't want a lot of like huge titles coming to the Switch like right now, because for example, Legend of Zelda is selling great. The Splatoon is already selling great for the pre-order. ARMS is going to be selling great, I feel.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna go well with Nintendo new titles, and if they will announce something else, people will be like, should I get ARMS or should I get the Animal Crossing coming a little bit later? Probably Animal Crossing. Like they can tease something, yeah, but considering the 6 months window, they have already Splatoon going on, ARMS going on, Monster Hunter coming out, and that's like 3 huge titles that will like drain people money, and they won't be able to buy anything else.
It's sad because I know they
Yeah.
have to space themselves. So if Animal
Yeah.
Crossing is coming out, it's not going to come out till like
Yeah, it's
mid
only like
2018.
first year. It's only first year for the Switch, and people are already. I want Animal Crossing. I want Pokemon.
Yeah.
I want something else. I want
Pe-
every game.
People people have complained like a surprising amount about like how little games the Switch has, but really it has a lot of games, especially for like such a new idea and just being so close to launch.
Yeah.
And they already have so many games lined up for the
Yeah.
future. It's like, how is anybody complaining about like the
I feel
lineup
like
here?
I feel like people are forgetting how it was for PS4, Xbox
Yeah.
One, or PS3. Like when PS4 came out, my friend was like, "Here you go, it's Killzone Shadowfall." I go, "Great, what games other you have?" And you're like, "None. I have only Killzone. That's all I have. I don't have games for PS4."
No, I
And
think
PS
it's the same. Like they're kind of forgetting. Like it's the same thing with every console when it's getting released. Like, oh, you just have this, and then you have to wait 2 years for it to have like a good kind of okay library, I guess.
Yeah, I think like it's a change in people's minds. People are less patient now, and they want
Yeah.
everything like right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
perfect.
Yeah, like before that, people were waiting like for years, and the games will have been announcing like for months before the release, not like 2 years or 3 years before the release, unless you're like Carmack and doing a new Quake game or something like that. And like you just open a new magazine and you're like, oh, this game is gonna come
Time.
somehow or
You
somewhere.
know how long I had to wait for The Last Guardian? Like
Yeah.
11 years, okay?
Hey, I'm still waiting for the remake of Final Fantasy VII here. Okay, I
Yeah.
think I can. No, but I think because we have like a lot of topics to cover, so I'll just like kind of move to the
Yeah, we
next
got-
one.
Yeah, okay.
And I just wanted to like with the upcoming events there. I read that there's gonna be like a tournament in America called. Is it 2GG Saga? I'm kind of new to that. Do you know anything about that, Akio? Or
Um, they're a pretty huge name in like esports. I think they do like they're really big with Smash 4 at least. I don't know if they do Melee or not. I don't know. Like I said, I'm pretty new to the fighting game community, but from what I've heard, they're kind of like one of the biggest names in fighting games. So
I
the
see.
E3 tournament will be interesting because it's an invitational. Like they have like pro players coming in, but then also it's open to the public.
Yeah.
And I think we're just gonna see some random guy that's like played the test punch that's gonna win, as opposed to like
Just
Tappelkins
flailing
from
his arms
Melee who
around.
had like an hour to play beforehand. But the 2GG Saga I think is gonna be really cool, and I think that's where ARMS is really gonna shine. I'm planning on attending that one, and that's gonna be like a month after release, so people are gonna have
Time.
quite a bit of time to really like hone their strategy and everything. So that one's gonna be really cool. I think I'm looking forward to that.
Do you know where it is? Like I couldn't.
It's
find
in Santa Ana, California, so it's in Southern California, right by Disneyland.
For anyone watching, if you don't know about this, it's a tournament by 2G Gaming, and you can find them at www.2ggaming.com. And or just like Google ARMS 2G
Yeah.
Saga. There's nothing
Yeah.
else that will come up. And I just wanted to give a note of that. But I've seen some other tournaments that are also popping up. There was something in Australia that was gonna come in some month as well, but nothing huge than that. I think we'll just have to wait until after release to see like what the investments will be.
Well, the problem for tournaments, like for any tournament with Nintendo, is that you have to talk with Nintendo to do that.
Yeah.
Like, for example, with Valve, it's really easy. You just come to them, you say, I want to do a tournament, I have these sponsors or partners, do that. And, for example, even though our channel have partners like AMD, like MSI, I was like, yeah, we can't do any Nintendo stuff because we have no communication with Nintendo here, sadly. It's really, really bad. And in Russia, I really want to do some stuff for Nintendo, but I cannot because I just can't get in touch with them, and their plan is pretty scarce for Russia because they're not getting a lot of attention from the Russia gamers, and that's the problem. I really want to do different stuff. I even could create an ARMS tournament, like set up everything, but I cannot.
But
Sadly.
is there, because I know like in Sweden there's DreamHack, of course, but is there anything similar in Russia where you can like kind of host, you can like unofficially have like an ARMS tournament or something like that?
Yeah, we can do that, of course. We can do like a lot of stuff unofficially, and I mean, for the tournaments, of course. And like we're really behind in truth, and that's always bugged me. I have been working with the Western community for like a lot of
Yeah.
time in my life, and I've been spending less time in Russia and working here, like in gaming industry. I always wanted to work there, but sadly, Russia is like 4 years behind everything. And like when esport is all around the world and everyone is talking about it, Russia is like still like games are for children.
Yeah.
4 years come by and like yeah, esport, and everyone's like already a speed run, and everyone like what is speed run?
Yeah.
So we're just coming up for the terms. What is speed running? I'm trying to push that, and people are trying to understand, and they finally understood that because we held our first charity marathon, like first ever in Russia, and it was like people like, is that a thing? You can like complete game fast, really? And that was weird. I'm always baffled by people's reaction. Like I'm always yeah, that's normal, and that's normal, and people around me, we don't know anything about that. Even the big companies, they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, we don't know anything about that.
I see. Yeah, I think one thing that I've noted is just like, especially with these kind of tightly knit communities, like the fighting game communities, such as like Smash or Tekken or Street Fighter, is that like distance is a problem. But for what I've known from like America, it's just like, especially in like the Smash, it's like the west and east side, and I guess like California is the southeast or something. And
Southwest.
they south. Oh yes. Midwest or whatever. Yeah, and then in that case, it seems like people are actually like really trying and like traveling to different places. And like in Sweden, there's like a really kind of tiny community. For Smash, basically. There's one on the west side of Sweden and one on the east side, so they're like trying to copy the kind of community feeling of America, but it's like way less distance. It's like a state in the difference. But yeah, so I think for Sweden, there's like no real kind of events coming up right now. But I mean, that's another thing that we're gonna like try to have to push. And hopefully, if we do like if I do more of these kind of episodes, then you know, it will be something that we can you know, advertise and such. But yeah, okay. I wanted to move on to the third and kind of like big last topic there, which is the controllers and
Yay.
Yay. And I'm like really hyped about this guy. I made like a 15-minute video of me just talking about it. And so, okay, I put it up here on the stream where it's just basically showing all the controls there. For me, when I played the Global Test Punch, I tried to play one test punch, the first ones. I tried one test punch each for each controller setup, with the kind of exception of the handheld, like the docked mode, because I just saw it and was like, no, I don't want to try that even. Like, so I did that kind of thing, and like, how did you guys treat that? Did you just like all go to the motion controller, or did you use the grip, or do you have like a pro controller, or what's your setup?
I only used motion, but I didn't think that standard controls were going to be as popular as they were, but I was really surprised. Like in almost every poll I've seen, even if there's like 500 people that like vote in the poll, like it's almost 50-50, like exactly for standard controls and motion controls. That's crazy. But it's also good because me and other people were all concerned that standard controls weren't going to be like viable or as good since it was designed for motion controls. But no, apparently it works fine.
Actually, I thought all the other way around. I thought the motion controls will be behind because people like always complaining how the motion controls are always dodgy and not precise. Like Nintendo doesn't have a like free demo to test your motion controls around. Like of course you can buy one to Switch, but it's like it's really costly for a demo game. So I felt like a lot of people would be playing on the normal controls, like the grip or the Pro controller. Also, like their fighting experience are telling them, don't trust this motion bullshit, go with your controller. It's more precise. But I am being really surprised how Nintendo is great with the motion controls. I felt so in control when doing the character, and at one point it became like normal for me to flay my hands around, to move, to go right, to go left, to jump, and so on. Sometimes, of course, I was like accidentally throwing two punches at once, but it's still was great. If people will be able to like use their physiques and their, I don't know, like reaction time with motion controls, I feel like there will be more outcome from the games, like from instead of playing with the proper button controls. Because of course, yeah, the button press is much faster than your arms going forward, but it's what I have seen. You can still dash with the button, and that's the biggest thing. I feel like the dash button mechanic would be the most unfair one if you're using the dash control or the normal controller or the motion controls. But because it's on the same button, you can just like you have the same amount of speed pressing a button. But while you're pressing a button and dodging, you can just throw your hand forward. And while the hand is flying, it has a physique. That's why you're like in the same spot, even if you're throwing a punch from the controller, like pressing a button, they're still flying at the same speed, and it all depends on where's your positioning and so on.
Yeah, I think for me, like the thing that was, it was like it felt like both of the like motion controls versus the grip basically for me was that they both have their ups and downs, like downsides and upsides, and for me there was like with the motion controls I could have like the perfect kind of curvature, like when you're throwing a punch you could like basically aim it perfectly, especially with the dragons and stuff, but with the grip. I just felt like everything was faster, like except for the aiming. Like my aiming is really shit with the grip, but I felt like I could be in control of the movement of the character way more, because I would do this kind of thing where, like, when I'm moving and I want to switch direction, I forget to move the other hand, so I'm like doing this, and then I'm guarding suddenly, and then I get like grabbed, and I'm like, I don't know, it's kind of like my own fault, I guess, but I had some major gripes with that. I think one of the things that is that I'm hoping for, which I don't think will be available, is if they could let you bind buttons, like to what you.
No, that would be too hard for Nintendo to do. For example, I can explain. The problem with Nintendo is like when they design how you play, it's the thing that they have tested like for a lot of hours. That's the only things they won't let you change. Like even the change for buttons in The Legend of Zelda for the jump button, the sprint button, it's this one small change they wanted to implement. And I know that even for that change they were fighting a lot because they were like, yeah, people in Western audience are using jump, the A button for jump. Oh no, the B button, the most button and the bottom.
I know what you mean.
The button
circle
on,
and
yeah, the
cross.
button on.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the problem with Nintendo. So they won't get you ability to change buttons. Also, it will bring a lot of like unfairness to trade because, for example, you can like set up your controller perfectly for some crazy moves, like crazy fast grabs or crazy fast dodges and other stuff.
Yeah, I think like the kind of, because I felt like I liked the grip the most, but some of the binds were so stupid that I couldn't really understand it. Like for example, you have rush on both the shoulder buttons. You only need it for one. I don't understand that. So, like they have guarding on the stick, right? So you have to click down the stick.
Yeah.
And then it's like switching targets is on the right stick. I didn't even know that at first, but it's like the directional buttons and the stick like is the kind of changing opponents. And then it's like, okay, what if you put guarding on one of the shoulder buttons and then you put like, I don't know which button it is, but the left, like on the right hand, it's like not A or B, but the left one there, square in Sony language. Like if you put the switch characters on that one, then you can just like spam it and then guard like how you want to. But now it's like, and I feel like if they had put in that and then use the right stick as another kind of like when you're punching, you can curve with the right and the left stick. then it's like,
Yeah.
there you go, I fixed it. Like your design problems, it's right there. But then
No.
I don't know. I feel
Yeah, as I said before, it would be unfair, and like I can imagine what went through their head. Like when they were designing the motion controls, I feel like they were prioritized. Like that was the main priority as making the great motion controls. And when they were like playing with normal controllers attack, I feel like they had that setup before, like you told me right now, with guards on the shoulder buttons, with like normal controls, like in any fighting game. But I feel like. The reaction time of person crossing their arms, not crossing, but like doing
guarding,
this,
yeah.
and the guarding and pressing the shoulder button was so different that they decided to like even it out by making the guarding more difficult for the players of the controls.
That makes me kind of really like almost triggered in that sense, because I'm like, like when that's I guess the kind of point of Nintendo's like designing for fun, because it's not designing for efficiency, which is like that's where you get the clash of like the competitive side and the fun casual side. Because if you had the most efficient controller, then you can do more skilled things in a game, and that's for me a fun part. But for Nintendo, that's like, no, but then you're unfair against these fellas.
Yeah. But I feel like that it was their idea, and I feel like all the tournaments will be held with motion controls, not things, because they want to push that agenda that their motion controls is great and they're precise, and by creating like unstable and wonky controls for the controller, they want more people to play with motion controls like they were taught before. And if they would create the great controls for people to play from the Game Pass, nobody would be playing from the motion controls, because they had a really big downside playing the motion controls. They will have no fun, no ability to participate in like tournaments and so on. They will have nothing on the table.
One thing that was like kind of interesting for me, because I had one test punch where I played with my friend and we were playing with the Sideway, the mini controllers.
Oh yeah.
And he like after we played, he was like, no, I actually like the Sideways the most, and he tried all the three of them, and I was kind of like, what do you mean? Like you have like really big hands, doesn't it hurt? He's like, no, it feels pretty good, because it reminds me of the like 8-bit like controller. And I was like, okay, but then I realized afterwards as well that he was having the, let me check, he had the blue controller, I think, and I had the red controller, and the sticks are like the red controller has the stick in the middle. And the most annoying thing about that one is that when switching targets, like when you're having it this, you have to like press with your kind of thumb part, because it's the lower trigger, to like switch your targets. And that's also one thing, like if they just put one button, because they have two, they have both the buttons, the shoulder buttons on the mini controllers for rush, and then they have like this awkward down button for switching targets. I don't know, but
that's because Nintendo wants you to buy more controllers.
That's the Apple thinking. Like, god damn it! I'm not made out of money. Come on. But yeah, I think hopefully they'll at least allow people to use the different controls, because I think it would be amazing to see like at the tournaments, like seeing a guy standing like flailing, and then the guy next to him is just like sitting and like playing, and then like the next match there's like one guy sitting with like a tiny controller, and just like everyone has their own style basically. But no, at least in the invitational, like I know that it's like definitely gonna be only motion controls, but but at least at the 2G Saga or 2GG Saga, I'm hoping that they could have like an open mind and just like at least let people do what they want.
Yeah. No, I feel like this will be one of the hot discussions for the ARMS every time, and if someone will like, should we use those controls or these controls? And I feel like the official Nintendo tournaments will prohibit of use like special controllers or like something that will give you an upper hand. Like for example, I can see what they're thinking. Like they want to have everyone a fair share of the game and like the fair chance of winning in the tournament. Like rely only on your skills. But if someone has like a setup of like $1,000 to go with a great controller to support your arms,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's gonna be bad. Like I see like a lot of fighting communities are talking a lot about the arcade stick controller and the normal
Yeah.
controller. But the problem is that I have seen a lot of people winning with the normal controls over the arcade controllers,
Yeah.
even with like the most great ones. But and it's like the matter of choice. But because it's the same buttons, they have the same reaction time. Like you press this button or you press this button, it's the same
Mm.
reaction time. There's one click and your character does something. But when we're talking about your physique and how fast you can throw punch, then
Yeah.
drag it back, then cross your arms and so on and so on, and like not get confused around while playing your arms around. You just have to have a really great control over your body to move, to dash, to jump, to do
Mm.
anything. So yeah, that's the big problem.
Yeah.
Uh, Going on with the arms, like because of its uniqueness, it has its own problems.
Yeah. I'm just like reacting to Akios. Yeah, I know that he's like he kind of muted there
Yeah,
for other
Yeah,
people.
sorry.
But
it's okay.
do
There's
you?
people getting ready to leave the house, so
I see.
everyone's kind of.
I see.
Sorry.
I was just wondering, like, if you can talk now, if you had like
Yeah,
any
I can.
comments, because now we've been like kind of rambling on our thoughts here, but you've been sitting
It's
there.
okay.
Um,
Yeah, sorry, I had to mute myself. Someone
that's fine.
actually came over and was talking, but it's the controllers are interesting because in the fighting game community, I guess controllers are like something they're really defensive about and like what's legal and what's not. And so if anything, I feel, and this would really suck, but I feel like if anything, they're gonna ban motion controls just
Oh.
because like they might see them as like unreliable or like whatever. But I think there's enough like obviously ARM's like built for motion controls and like half of the people want motion controls. So I don't think they'll do that, but it will be interesting because like in Smash 4 you can reassign your button controls.
Yeah.
As far as I know, I've heard a couple people say that, but like stuff like macros and like you can't really bring in like third-party controllers or anything.
Yeah.
I know in Street Fighter you can play Street Fighter with like any type of controller that you can plug in,
Yeah.
but I don't know like what the legality of that is. I don't know if there's some people that play like with a PlayStation 2 controller or whatever, but yeah, in ARMS it'll be interesting. I think it'll be fine whether they just do, they allow both standard and motion or whatever. I think they'll probably just allow both. But yeah, it'll be interesting, like you said, to see someone like I'm gonna be someone who's gonna be like motion all the way, like
Yeah.
getting into it and punching everything, and then like the guy across from me is just gonna be like sitting there with his pro controller, like going crazy,
Yeah.
It's gonna be funny.
But okay, so we're actually like we're not on time for anything, so we're not running out of time. But we've been going on for quite a while, so I'm just yeah. So we kind of covered that the controllers, like Al, you were playing with the motion controllers.
Yeah.
Then? Yeah, and Akio, you were playing also motion controllers. God damn it! I'm the grip guy. Okay, but we'll see. I'm really excited to see how it will become. Basically, let's jump over to the kind of last big topic then, which is kind of communities, and it's something that we've touched upon like a lot in when we've talked. Like Ali were saying like how the situation is in Russia, and we were talking a bit about the situation in America too. But like, do you guys have any expectations of like maybe not just even for ARMS, but just the fighting game communities in general? Like, is there any like foreseeable future for Russia, for example, or would you say that for Russian people it's just you have to go to the rest of Europe or?
Yeah, well, the fighting games community were always scarce and small, even in other countries, and we are not the exception. We have fighting communities, but they're really small. Like, so small that the tournaments are really local. It's like 10-person tournament, not more, and we cannot do anything about that. Because the fighting game are really like small niche. You have to like put in a lot of time to be good at the fighting game. There's a lot of memorization for the combos, for the other stuff. Maybe ARMS will be able, will have like a go at people who don't want to memorize stuff and will be only relying on their skill. And I feel like this is the greatest speech from Nintendo. Like in the any other fighting games, you have to remember how to do the Hadoukens and go into the Shoryuken and other stuff. In ARMS, you just have to know where to dodge, when to jump, when to do other stuff, and that can gonna help a lot. Because the bar, the level set for people to come into the game, and I feel like the competitive part of the game will be really low compared to any other fighting game, and it may become a really great fighting game for communities to strive upon and get bigger, and then bring other franchises, for example, like Smash and so on. So like big center community that can like grow on with all the fighting games around.
So basically what you're saying is that there's still kind of a need for an infrastructure of esports in general for it to, like, the next step will be kind of fighting games, and then the third step will be kind of ARMS then, or...
No, it's more like ARMS will be a go-to if you want to start for something easy.
Okay.
And like if you want to move forward for the like Smash games or Tekken games and so on, you can go forward or you can stay in ARMS because it's it's the lower bar of the hardest games. And like we have EVA going on. Like the EVA is the biggest championship for the fighting games, right? Yeah, and that's the only thing that we have. I mean, like one of the biggest, and it's still not really watched by people. There's not a lot of viewers. There's not a lot of participants. Yeah, well, there's some, but usually people from Korea, Japan, and like America, and still pretty local. To go like international, you have to like really well polished mechanics and a really low bar to go in. That's why, for example, League of Legends, Dota 2 are so popular because the bar to go in the game is pretty low, and everyone is like can go in and get into the game anytime, and that's how it works. It's like the mechanics are so easy that you can already understand how to play in 10 minutes. And the ARMS is a great fighting game that will do exactly that.
Yeah, I think I agree with you that it has the like casual bar. I'm kind of wondering if basically, especially for some countries like even Sweden in that regard, that for fighting game communities in general, it seems like there is kind of very low infrastructure right now. It's just kind of very local, and it needs, hopefully, like Nintendo can take like take up to ARMS with getting started with that. But Akio, like, how do you kind of expect it to become with the American scene there? Like, do you think there's like a chance of coexisting, or do you think that it'll be like either Smash or ARMS like going forward?
I'll give it time. I think that once people see like more of ARMS, and they'll see that like the community is not going away, you know, and we're all like there to support it, because ARMS does have a ton of support behind it. I think eventually, you know, they just won't be able to ignore it any longer. If they do try to like resist it as hard as possible, but I think people will gradually open up to the idea. And one thing though about esports in America is the reason I had to give up on like playing Melee competitively is because to play Melee you have to play with someone else, you know, like in person. Like net play isn't really like a viable option for getting good at the game. And so, you know, if I want to go to like a local tournament, I have to drive 4 hours, you know, one way. And like America is big, and I'm sure like Ella has this problem too, because Russia is also really big. And like, you know, even driving 4 hours one way, like that, I would probably be able to play in maybe like, you know, a 10-person local. Like that's not even like a big thing, you know. And so it's totally not worth like the expenses to like go and play Melee. But ARMS has online, and from what I've seen, you know, like that's actually very viable, you know, for ARMS, and it has its own ranked mode, you know, and from what I've seen, you know, the Switch's online is really good, and there was no lag from what I saw, you know, and I'm sure the servers will be like probably even better than what they were in the test punch, you know, if they were testing out different like variables and stuff with their server. So I think online is good, and that's why I kind of got into ARMS. Is like, okay, I have like, you know, a fresh meta. Like I'm not gonna be like 11 years behind with Smash, you know. Like I'll be able to like lead the front with ARMS, you know, and I'll kind of have the chance, you know, to get good online. And it's not like I'm not wasting my time if I'm playing people online. Like that's actually a viable option. So That's
Yeah.
a good thing for me.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, like getting in from the start there. I'm just gonna check here. 1 second. Yeah, cause like if I think about the Swedish community basically right now, is that the um, the Swedish community is kind of like America in as well, like the fighting game community then is like America, but in a very smaller scale, basically. So it's very local, but at least like driving 4 or 5 hours is basically the entire country on the from
Yeah.
the east to west. So and there are two communities right now in the like east and west side, basically Stockholm and Gothenburg, which is like the two big cities, Malmö being the third. And I think like actually tomorrow there's like a Smash group meetup, and I'll go there and be like try to be the arms guy and be like, hey guys, arms, right? And I'll try to see how that goes. But if it goes well, basically, then there might be a good chance of actually some local arms in Sweden. But
Yeah.
but yeah, in general, Switch isn't like super popular in Sweden right now because it's Counter-Strike and whatnot is here.
Well, actually, now that I think about it, Switch is the perfect control to pitch your idea to someone. Like, for example, if you're talking about the Smash and nobody ever played Smash,
Yeah.
you can't just say like, yeah, we're gonna play Smash like 2 weeks from now, like
Yeah.
somewhere there. And well, when ARMS comes out, you can just go to these places and like, here we go. I got Switch, I got ARMS. We can play like right here. Do you like it? And everyone like will be like, yeah, no, and it will be much easier to decide on spot. Whether people like it, want to discuss it or something like that. Because like you can show a lot of videos. It's like the biggest problem when you show someone the great video when someone is doing the crazy combos in fighting games, and everyone like, wow, this is so cool. I want to do that as well. And they go in like, oh, I have to learn 20 new mechanics and then new combos to do something that great. Yeah, no. That's why the Switch is like the perfect pitch tool. Like you just bring the Switch, you like play this right now. What do you think? And he's like, yeah, I like it, or I don't like it. It would be much easier.
Yeah, the Switch is perfect for esports. I think I made a post on Reddit a while ago about how like the Switch could be like really popular for esports. Because you have indie developers, and Nintendo's open to people other than Nintendo making titles for it. So you could have Street Fighter or whatever on it, and also like there's no real like input lag with the controllers or anything, but mostly it's so portable. You can plug it into any TV like really easily. Like you can pretty much carry it in your pocket or a backpack or whatever. Like its biggest obstacle right now to overcome is its popularity. Like if more and more people bought the Switch, it would be so easy to set up tournaments or whatever for Switch esports.
I think I agree with that. I think the worst part about it basically right now is the cost, basically, because now like comparing for example Tekken and what is it, Tekken and ARMS. Tekken's lowest price is like 39 euro or something like that, and ARMS is like 60, I think. And then you have to get a Switch too. While with Tekken right now, it's like, oh well, it's of course it's a console game, but you can get it on your computer now, and everyone's like, yay! But with ARMS, you have to get a Switch basically. But once you get that, I think it could go on. But so one of the last questions I had for you guys was just like kind of what the dream scenario would be for a community of ARMS, basically. Like just to pick freely, like how you would picture that.
I would need to think about that. So Akiosjo, you go first.
The dream scenario for me is I get really good online, and then I think that it's worth the cost for me to fly out to California or New York or whatever, and then I win the tournament, and then from then on I can just use my tournament winnings to go and fly to even more tournaments, and then I become the best ARMS in the world. That's the dream scenario.
But
Yeah, now
Yeah.
Now
Go
I
on.
think I understood my dream scenario because every time I play a game competitively, I feel like I won't be able to rise to the top. And I feel like for the arms, it will be the same. So at one point, I would like to like be present at some great tournament for arms and be like a caster or someone who will be commentating on it, like shouting stuff and like, look at that punch, it's going right into his face. It's amazing. And he just hit a TV and girls flying away. So something like that. I really would like to participate as an organizing part for the tournaments, and like to be a commentator or like the guy who do the event and so on, so on. Like I want to see people enjoy it and do crazy stuff, but sadly it's the same with speedruns. I tried speedruns, I cannot do that, but I can do other stuff. I can organize things and I can make it popular if I try hard enough. So yeah, that's the thing I can do.
Yeah.
Well,
So
one
that's
thing with ARMS too is that it's totally viable to do online tournaments. I guess that's another part of my dream scenario is like I want to be able to help set up online tournaments, so people might not have to, drive 5 hours to go and make
yeah.
$20 on a weekend, like you can just set up a money match online on a Friday night, and people can just join in, you exchange friend codes and you have a tournament and it would work.
Yep.
I think the dream scenario for me, like with arms as well, is I think I'm kind of more as you, Alligator, there, that I think I want to try to become the best, but I know that I'll be like, no, oh yeah, I have to work, shit, and then someone else who is like, now I'm 23 right now, and I'm like already starting to see these people who are like, oh yeah, I'm 18 and I'm kind of skipping class so I can play like 8 hours a day. I'm like, shit, I can't keep up with this.
Yeah.
And I want to keep up, but I probably can't. So I also want to think about like becoming a caster or like actually help with organization there. But I guess it's just something that we'll have to see, basically. It's like the theme of tonight with this, or in
Yeah.
the morning for you.
Wait and see.
Yeah, wait and see.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just hopeful basically, and I think like E3 in general will set the tone for a lot of things, like how people react to it and the initial kind of sales. Like if it comes out and is like, oh, it's like Overwatch, like 5 million sales, oh shit, and it's like, then it could like snowball into something. Otherwise, it could be like take a really long time. But yeah. So basically, that's. I wanted to kind of round it off here and take the last topic, which is basically like the free discussion part there. And so I could begin with the questions we had in chat there, which was one that was earlier, was basically like, yeah, it was back with the kind of modes there and the viability of which modes could be competitive, and the question was, do you think the doubles will be competitively viable, or will the tether be too much of a gimmick? What do you think?
Who's going first?
Yeah, you can rock paper
Akio.
scissors. No, I just.
Okay.
We can start with you, Alligator.
Oh, great. Yeah, okay. So I don't know actually, because that's the one thing that I cannot foresee. Like you can have a team in arms, but it would be too much of a hassle to do a to be like a part of a huge team. For example, imagine this scenario like we're far in the future, like 2 years from this point. Like arms is pretty popular, but not that popular, but it's still going. It's having its fair share of attention, and like we have a Cloud9, like a really great team with someone, and they scouted someone to play arms for them, and it was like the only person they could find that could play well, and he's alone. And then there's like Nintendo coming up with, hey, and today it's like double eliminations, and someone like, well, we're gonna get second guy, we have to pay him as well for the double thing. That is like, nah. So yeah, that's the thing that they will probably not do. The one-on-one is always like close and personal, like in any other fighting game. 2-on-2 is not a great deal unless they like enhance the mechanics and will like push this forward. But for now, I don't see how it's gonna work.
I kind of agree. I think that the 2v2 will basically be kind of like a lesser extent of the doubles that exist in Smash, where they have like doubles and singles in Smash tournaments, and and at least the tournaments in Sweden, they almost always have both of them, and I think it'll be kind of similar to that, but maybe like instead of 50-50, like it could be in Smash tournaments, I think it'll be like maybe 20 to 80% in the beginning, and then it kind of dies off, and it's just 100% 1v1.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things is the kind of tethering thing. I kind of like it, I kind of don't. So I think it'll be like mostly 1v1 there. What did you want? Do you have any comments on that, Akio?
Yeah, obviously like 1v1 is like definitely gonna be the most popular. If there is like, we were talking about like whether there can be like competitive like hoops or v-ball. I think if there is gonna be like another mode in a tournament, it'll be doubles, just because of like fighting game tradition. And yeah, like it's chaotic, but then again, kind of so is like doubles in every other game. So it probably won't be like as popular as Smash doubles, like you were saying, but it'll probably still be there, you know, at majors. I don't know if it's gonna be like just for fun, or if there'll actually be like a prize pool or whatever, but it'll be there, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna play it, but
Oh, okay.
or maybe I will if I find a good partner.
Is it the today's theme of we will see, basically?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, but okay. And the other question was, oh yeah, with the formats of the rule sets and stuff like that, do you think it will be favored of the default arms only, or do you think they will allow all arms for all characters? Because that makes me actually think of Team Fortress 2 in that competitive scene. Europe had one stance on that where they had only the default weapons with like some exceptions, while in America they allowed all the weapons. So when Europe and America faced each other, there was like this weird like, what do we do? And like it was really fun to see how Americans played, because it was so freaking chaotic with like 200 weapons. But like what do you think will be the, like, which one do you think will be the most one? Like,
I really hope that they allow all the arms, because default arms, it would be okay, and I think the only reason they would do default arms is if they couldn't find enough setups that had all the arms unlocked. But really, like the bigger like you get, that's not really a problem, you know, to like require that people bring like fully unlocked setups. Like they have to do that with some other games. But yeah, like having the ability to have like any character choose any arm, that's where like 90% of arms depth comes from.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's just like fundamentals in a fighting game, you know, like dodge, block, grab, like that's like in every game. Yeah. But yeah, like the ability to like customize your arm loadout and only being able to carry 3, you know, having to carefully choose 3 and catering those to your playstyle, that's where the majority of arms depth is coming from. So they better allow that, because that's the whole point.
Yep. The arms actually support the main character's abilities. Like any ability that you bring to the table with the character is supported by the arms you pick. For example, the elasticity, or how it's called, of the helix. Like you can just like, I don't know how it's called, when you like
Stretch.
Yeah, stretch around the stage, and you can just be really high and throwing punches. Different arms will bring different dodges from other players to the table, and different mechanics from you as well. For example, I can already see how you can just like stretch, go all the way behind and just throw birds at people, and they will fly to them, and it will be really hard to dodge. So yeah, if they will allow only the default hands, we will see a lot of face-offs like with the best hands. For example, like if people will see that the best hands are, for example, umbrellas and freezers, we will see only twin tails in tournaments, and so on and so on. So you have to have an ability to adapt to the situation and to bring something from yourself to the table. Then, because other than that, yeah, we don't have 200 arms, like 200 weapons in Team Fortress, so that's not going to be a problem. You know what arms do. They like have color coordination. Like, for example, oh, that's a blue weapon, it's definitely going to freeze me or going to shock me, depending on what type of arm is that. So yeah, it's pretty easy with Nintendo designs to understand what is going on and to adapt accordingly. And Like the biggest problem I can see is if, for example, we'll see DLCs with new arms that will overshadow the old arms and will be much more powerful. And that may happen, but with Nintendo gameplay choices, I don't feel like this is gonna be a thing. So we'll probably see everything on the table like at once.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in the same sentiment there, that we'll have like all arms allowed. And I think one thing else that I didn't hear mentioned was I think it'll be super hyped in tournaments. Like one of those things where casters like go nuts is like when some player just like shows us a really like rare arm, or like why is he using
chooses an
torpedo?
uncommon loadout. Yeah.
And then it's like
Underdog.
or like in the last second have the loadout, because you have the loadouts, right? And then like it's counting down, and then at the last second someone chooses like a
like switch.
Yeah, and then it's like whoa.
Yeah.
And so I think that's just gonna add to the game. For my sake personally, I don't like it because my head can't contain all of these combinations. So I'll just sit on these like build websites that'll eventually happen, and just like, okay, for the aggressive Ninjara I need these 3. Yeah, okay, I'll go with those, and then like kind of zombie my way through it. But I think it's gonna preferably be all, and especially in Nintendo's tournaments as well.
That's the thing, actually, with any competitive game. I can only think of League of Legends, for example. For example, when like someone is picking a support characters and going middle and building some crazy stuff on someone, and there's like, what is he doing? And then they won, and then you see for like 6 months in a row the same build from people, because they have seen that on tournament. They don't know how to use it because that person probably worked on that build for months ahead and tested it every day. And that's the same thing going for arms. Like, don't you know, like the birds are the best, like the toasters are the greatest arms because that guy won with them, but people don't know how to use them, so they're going to fail in normal games, and it's going to be fun.
I think the meta will just be way bigger. I think that's like just comparing it to StarCraft, when someone does like a really weird build as well. It's just like the most hype thing in the game. So they shouldn't not allow that. But other than that, like, do you guys have anything that you like want to brought up, or do you think something was missed in our discussions here, or left out, kind of?
I don't have anything.
Yeah.
Yep, same. I don't have anything as well.
Okay.
We will see how it goes with arms.
Yeah, we'll see. It's almost like the name of the pod for this one, but okay. So then basically, I kind of want to wrap it up, and let's. I think.
Oh wait. Actually, I have one thing.
Sure.
I hope that this kind of podcast will not be the last one.
Yeah.
I feel like I hope that there will be more podcasts like this, and maybe like discussing new mechanics, DLCs, characters, and like after the E3 we can do another one, meet up.
I'm down for it. Like I'm the one streaming this. Of course I'll be down for it. Let's. I want to keep doing this. I just said it was a test episode for my own protection, basically. Like I only said that it was a test.
It did not work out at all.
Yeah, but I really liked talking to you guys about this. It felt like, because I don't have a lot of friends that actually play ARMS, so I have friends, but so it was nice to have you here and talk about this, and it's also cool that we had it globally. One of my things that I want to keep doing with this is like eventually have people from Japan, because I know people in Japan, and maybe we could have like a translator or something like that. But yeah, thanks for saying that, by the way. Good, it's not all bad. Yeah, but with that being said, I think we're gonna wrap it up. And before I do anything, I'll kind of wrap up. Is there like, we can do some shout-outs basically. So if Akio, do you want to like kind of plug your channel or anything, or go ahead, basically.
Yep. I'm on YouTube, Akiosjo's Arms, and I think, you can get there either by youtube.com/user/theimagidea, which you can see on the stream, or you can just do /C, which stands for channel /Akiosjo's Arms, and so I'll be uploading a ton of more content in the future on strategies and loadouts and stuff, so look forward to that. And I'm also on Discord and Twitter at Akiosjo. So
cool.
Well, I usually stream in Russian on Golden Split, so you are not interested in that, definitely. So yeah, but I have the other channel, the SireAlligator. It was my the very first channel, and I'm still streaming there rarely, but I will begin now more, and will stream in English. If you want to join me, you can just go to twitch.tv/SireAlligator, SIRE. Well, so yeah, that's all. But I'm not going to play something competitively. I'm just going to like look around the new stuff, and probably when the Monster Hunter will come out, I will just delve in there for 3 months and won't come out to the streets. That's all.
All right. Thanks. And for me, it's just I'm a Defur or on Twitter, Facebook, and Twitch, and just follow me and this channel. I think this podcast will stay on this channel. I might change it to YouTube, but I have a lot of shitty dead subscribers that I don't want to bother, basically. But we'll
You should
see.
put it on YouTube.
Yeah, this VOD will definitely be on YouTube. But yeah, for more about me, and I'll keep streaming ARMS when it's getting released, and yeah, definitely at least one more after E3, so we can see if what we will see, and we can actually see what happens and see if we were right or wrong. But
Awesome.
yeah, but thanks everyone. Like, thanks for people who are watching. I saw that we had actually a couple of viewers. No, but and thank you guys for joining me today. It was really great having you on, and I guess I'll see you next time, if not else. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, are you going to watch E3 in like 1 hour or? Wait. Oh wait, it's in 30 minutes. Holy crap! I need to get prepared for that. Oh
Yeah.
shit.
No, but that's a good
Okay,
timing.
I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
we'll wrap it up, and you can get prepared for E3 and everyone else
Yep.
as well. So, thanks everyone for watching, and see you guys next time. So, bye everyone.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.